Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 35 based on novel. So let's start. Over 100 green dragon-like tattoos danced around Lin Dong while an earth-shaking dragon roar echoed across the area. An ancient and heavy dragon tribe pressure rose within the celestial demon Martin tribe, a scene that very easily drew everyone's attention. Dragon tribe pressure? Lin Dong's change caused even Hao Jiuyo to be slightly startled. His eyes appeared a little strange as he observed Lin Dong. The latter was clearly a genuine human. However, this dragon tribe pressure was also exceptionally pure, so pure that even some top experts within the dragon tribe could not compare. This was undoubtedly rather baffling. What an interesting fellow. He not only possessed the Ancestor Stone and ancestral symbols, but also the mighty pressure of the dragon tribe. Hao Jiuyo smiled indifferently. However, his eyes were not smiling. Black meridians wiggled on his black demon arm, emitting an extremely wild and violent energy ripple. However, no matter how many techniques you have, you will still die today. A gold glint flickered in Hao Jiuyo's eyes. Without further ado, his foot stamped in the air while black hallucination fragrance surged and his body appeared in front of Lin Dong in a ghost-like fashion. His finger thrust forward in the air and the black hallucination fragrance gathered. It directly turned into a huge black wooden thorn that tore through the air and ruthlessly pierced towards Lin Dong's forehead. The jade-colored dragon wings behind Lin Dong forcefully flapped. Wild winds blew and his body shot backwards explosively in a split second, dodging Hao Jiuyo's formidable attack. Bang! Lin Dong attacked the moment his body pulled back. Lightning surged on the scepter in his hand as numerous scepter shadows appeared. The shadows seemed to fill the sky as they enveloped Hao Jiuyo. Insignificant tricks. Hao Jiuyo laughed coldly. With a whirl of his hand, a black petal appeared before him next. It directly blocked the many lightning-charged scepter shadows. Go! Hao Jiuyo flicked his finger and the black flower petal in front of him shot forward. A sharp aura cut through space and headed straight for Lin Dong's throat. Clang! The lightning emperor scepter in Lin Dong's hand thrust forward, lightly lifting the edge of the flower petal, slightly changing the latter's trajectory. Subsequently, the flower petal whistled past the top of Lin Dong's head. Lin Dong revealed his outstanding fighting experience in this exchange. Many years of life or death battles had bestowed him with exceptionally acute battle senses. Show me your true ability. Otherwise, you will have little chance of victory. Hao Jiuyo said in a faint voice. He extended his hand and the black hallucination fragrance condensed into many eternal illusion demon flowers in his hand while a strange ripple spread. Lin Dong's eyes slightly hardened. Looks like he did not need to be courteous at all. He deeply breathed in and when he exhaled, a thunderous dragon roar was emitted. Roar? A warm jade-color brilliance exploded from within Lin Dong's body. The 300 green dragon-like tattoos originally revolving around Lin Dong gradually changed. Finally, they turned into 300 purplish gold dragon tattoos. A purplish gold luster also emerged in Lin Dong's eyes at this moment as his originally powerful aura soared once again. Clearly, he had activated the power of the primal dragon bone. Now this is finally getting a little interesting. Hao Jiuyo laughed coldly. He clenched his hand and the many eternal illusion demon flowers shot out. They appeared like many black stars as they rushed towards Lin Dong from all directions. Lin Dong held the lightning emperor scepter with his eyes slightly shut. They suddenly opened in the next moment as the 300 purplish gold dragon tattoos around him let out a long roar towards the sky. Bang! Lin Dong's body turned into a streak of purplish gold light as he shot forward. 300 purplish gold dragon tattoos coiled around his body, making him appear just like a purplish golden large dragon which was giving off an endless pressure. Bang bang bang! Purple gold light swept past and the many eternal illusion demon flowers immediately exploded. Even space violently distorted wherever he passed. Hao Jiuyo remained completely still as he watched the purplish gold light figure which was ferociously charging at him. Disdain rose from the corners of his mouth. He allowed the light to charge over as he slowly lifted his black demon arm. His palm opened and directly met the lightning emperor scepter which had shot out from the purplish gold light. Creak creak. The lightning emperor scepter containing the power of 300 purplish gold dragon tattoos powerfully stabbed Hao Jiuyo's palm. A piercing noise erupted while the resultant energy ripple rubbed against the air, unleashing a thunderous sound. However, Hao Jiuyo, who had used his palm to forcibly receive this fierce attack of Lin Dong, did not even move. His demon arm also showed no signs of trembling. The only change was that the eternal illusion demon flower symbols tattooed on his demon arm seemed to have bloomed slightly. Lin Dong's expression changed when he saw this. Hao Jiuyo was indeed not an ordinary individual. No wonder even little Martin had suffered at his hands. Scram! Hao Jiuyo revealed a sneer as his palm twisted and explosively jerked. Bang! An incomparably wild and violent energy shockwave swept forth, scattering the purplish gold light that Lin Dong had created. The purplish gold dragon tattoos around him also dropped in number. Humph! Murderous intent surged within Hao Jiuyo's eyes as he forced Lin Dong back with a palm. Hao Jiuyo's body moved and many after-images appeared around Lin Dong. His demonic arm contained a terrifying strength as it swept towards Lin Dong from all directions. Clang clang clang. The lightning emperor scepter in Lin Dong's hand transformed into many lightning bolts at this moment. These lightning bolts guarded Lin Dong's body. However, he had clearly fallen into a disadvantage. Some of Hao Jiuyo's attacks had broken his defense and directly smashed into his body. If it was not because Lin Dong had the primal dragon bone, he would definitely be seriously injured by such powerful attacks. While Lin Dong was doing his best to deal with Hao Jiuyo, little Martin's small group had already approached a distant mountain peak. Faint white light scattered from the Demon Destroyer talisman and covered them, protecting them from the erosion of the hallucination fragrance outside. Big Brother Arjia, it seems that Brother Lin Dong is unable to hold on any longer. The expression of an expert from the celestial demon Martin tribe beside little Martin suddenly changed as he spoke. Little Martin's body paused. He turned his head to take a look and saw Lin Dong being enveloped by Hao Jiuyo's attacks. His pupils shrunk slightly as his fists tightly clenched. Big Brother Arjiao, why don't you go and help Brother Lin Dong? Let us handle this. The other person said. From the looks of it, Lin Dong's situation appeared quite terrible. Arjiao pondered upon hearing this. However, he shook his head in front of the two pairs of surprised eyes. Since he said that he can handle it, he will definitely be able to do so. Let's finish our task first. Understood. The two of them nodded. They exchanged a glance with each other and saw the uncertainty and helplessness in each other's eyes. They were really unable to understand where little Martin's confidence originated from. That Hao Jiuyo was a ruthless fellow who had even defeated little Martin. Although Lin Dong had many techniques, there was ultimately still a huge disparity between himself and Hao Jiuyo. However, despite their uncertainty, they were in no position to comment since little Martin had already spoken. The trio charged into the dense layers of black hallucination fragrance and directly hurried to the mountain top. Little Martin cast a glance towards that certain far-off spot. Using a voice that only he could hear, he muttered, "You better not end up dying. Otherwise, you will lose all the face of us brothers." Bang! The black demon arm was like a poison dragon that directly shattered the lightning defenses in an extremely overbearing manner. After which, it landed on Lin Dong's chest with lightning speed. A low and deep sound spread. Lin Dong's chest appeared to sink slightly. His body flew backwards and a mouthful of fresh blood was involuntarily spat out from his mouth. Although he possessed the primal dragon bone and an extremely strong physical body, it was obvious that these ferocious attacks of Hao Jiuyo were not easy to bear. The bones in your body are really tough. Hao Jiuyo looked at Lin Dong with ridicule, but his eyes contained some surprise. His earlier attack could injure another Samsara stage expert, and even less needed to be said for a profound death stage expert. Yet, besides spitting out some blood, Lin Dong's aura was still strong. The latter did not appear to show any signs of being seriously injured. This ability to endure being beaten caused even Hao Jiryo to be astonished. Being able to endure being beaten is also a kind of capability. Lin Dong wiped off the trace of blood on the corner of his mouth. His voice was still calm. It is indeed a kind of capability. Hao Jiryo nodded. The smile on his lips gradually became ferocious. However, a rock can be smashed to dust regardless of how hard it is. Let me see just how many times you can endure. Black light suddenly blossomed from Hao Jiryo's demon arm after his voice sounded as evil light rippled outwards in waves. The eternal illusion demon flowers tattooed on his arm also slowly bloomed little by little as the light spread. Those black meridians were just like the roots of a flower as they spread all over Hao Jiryo's arm while a frighteningly evil aura rapidly brewed. Look at how my punch will smash you into dust. Hao Jiryo's mouth parted, forming a twisted smile. As he tightly clenched his hand, even space itself started to distort. Blood was spat out from Lin Dong's mouth while a grave expression gathered in Lin Dong's eyes. He could sense the terrifying power that was gathering on Hao Jiryo's demon arm. Truly a troublesome person. Lin Dong slowly relaxed his tight grip on the Lightning Emperor scepter. After which, he gently placed his hands together, forming an exceptionally strange seal. Following the formation of this seal, the raging purplish gold dragon tattoos around his body gradually calmed down as a mysterious ripple pulsed from his palms. The ripple descended from above and finally entered the land below. At this moment, everyone could feel the land under their feet begin to shake slightly. It was as if a giant dragon was awakening. Vast and mighty energy surged like floodwaters under the ground. The plants on the surface began to wither as a desolate aura quietly spread. Lin Dong slowly extended his hand. After which, he pointed his hand at the ground below and lightly clenched. A soft voice seemed to bring with it the muffled sound of the land as it reverberated across the entire place. All living things of the land turn into desolation. The vast land continuously trembled at this moment. Many powerful individuals from the celestial demon Martin tribe were stunned when they saw that the surrounding land was rapidly turning barren. They could feel that there were waves of vast and majestic energy coursing beneath the ground, just like tens of thousands of galloping dragons, before they headed towards the same place. That place was where Lin Dong was located. Bang! The ground beneath Lin Dong's feet suddenly split apart the moment he clenched his fist tightly. Subsequently, everyone was stunned when they saw a 10,000 feet large energy light pillar emerging from the ground and bursting through the clouds. On one end, the energy light pillar was connected to the ground, while on the other, it was connected to Lin Dong. A vast amount of energy, that resembled the ocean, gushed into his body instantly. As this terrifying amount of energy gushed into his body, Lin Dong's body swelled to twice its size. Nonetheless, despite the massive surge in energy, Lin Dong did not feel any discomfort because he had the primal dragon bone. Therefore, unless it was an extremely frightening and powerful energy, it was quite difficult to overstuff his body. Currently, his black hair was completely disheveled. Meanwhile, the purple gold glint in his eyes seemed to have solidified. As he breathed, two air dragons meandered and wiggled. An extremely frightening aura swept out from within his body like a thunderstorm, causing a powerful storm to stir. The Great Desolation Scripture, a deep and profound martial arts that originated from the Great Desolate Tablet, had gradually revealed its incredible might as Lin Dong became stronger. When Lin Dong used it in the past, he was only able to turn the area within a few hundred kilometers into barren land. However, as of now, his area of effect had grown to thousands of kilometers. At a glance, it seems like even the edge of his sight was filled with a desolate and barren aura. The Great Desolation Scripture was as overbearing as always. You are quite capable. Hao Jiryo looked at Lin Dong, whose aura was soaring wildly. Then, the disdain on the corner of his lips finally faded away gradually. A mere advanced profound death stage brat had actually given him so many surprises. This was enough to force him to take the latter seriously. However, I wonder just how many of my attacks can the current you handle? Hao Jiryo slowly clenched his demon arm. The eternal illusion demon flowers tattooed on his arm had bloomed completely. Their mysterious and demonic appearance was filled with the scent of death. Raw? Lin Dong took a step forward before a frightening thunderous dragon roar emerged from within his body. After which, many purple gold dragon-like tattoos whistled forward and circled around his body. 800. With the help of the Great Desolation scripture, Lin Dong was actually able to form 800 purple gold dragon-like tattoos. A total of 800 purple gold dragon-like tattoos circled around Lin Dong's body. Their resplendent purple gold glow resembled that of the bright sun. As they glowed, they emitted a frightening strength which could not be described with words. Lin Dong lifted his head. His eyes, which were filled with a purple gold luster, stared intently at the distant Hao Jiuyou. In the next moment, he suddenly flapped the dragon wings on his back. Bang! Thunder echoed across the sky before Lin Dong's body instantly disappeared. In fact, even an ultimate samsara stage expert could only see a purple gold light flash across the sky. The empty space where that light passed became distorted, before a purple gold scar appeared. The 10,000 feet gap between them was breached instantly. As Hao Jiuyou stared at the purple gold light that was being rapidly magnified in his eyes, his pupils shrunk slightly. After which, a low roar which resembled that of a wild beast, was emitted from his throat. Then, he clenched his demon arm tightly and threw a punch forward. Monstrous evil demonic aura swept out from his arm and transformed into a black flower on his fist. As that flower slowly rotated, a frightening ripple radiated from it. The purple gold light suddenly arrived. After which, 800 purple gold dragon-like tattoos roared. In fact, even the ground beneath crumbled, creating a huge crack. Bang! The purple gold dragon fist tore through the empty space and slammed heavily against the black flower on Hao Jiuyou's fist in an extremely frightening fashion. The air itself seemed to have frozen at the moment of impact. Soon after, a rising sun bloomed in the sky before an indescribable energy assault wave swept forth like a hurricane. In fact, the entire sky was ravaged by that assault wave. Countless members of the celestial demon Martin tribe lifted their heads and stared at the frightening ripples in the sky. It was likely that none of them had expected that this young man, who was merely at the advanced profound death stage, was actually able to push Hao Jiuyou until such an extent. Amidst the stares from countless onlookers, two figures suddenly shot out from within that bright sun, which was hanging in the sky. After which, both of them staggered backwards. Clearly, the both of them were wounded in the previous clash. Bang! Lin Dong stomped his foot solemnly. Only then, did he manage to stabilize his body. His arm trembled gently when that wild and violent energy that had invaded his body, attempted to course through his body in an attempt to break it. Humph! However, Lin Dong merely snorted coldly when up against this wild and violent energy which had invaded his body. Circulating his devouring power, he directly swallowed that energy. After which, he lifted his head and stared coldly at Hao Jiuyou, who was at quite a distance away. At this moment, the latter was also in a pretty terrible state. Not only were the clothes on his body shattered from that explosion, but there was also blood seeping out from his demon arm. Moreover, the eternal illusion demon flower symbols on his arm had dimmed significantly. Clearly, Hao Jiuyou did not gain much of an advantage in that previous clash. You bastard! Hao Jiuyou had a ferocious and brutal expression. Although the blood on his arm was quickly absorbed into his body and the injuries on his demon arm were gradually healing, his eyes were still filled with fury. After all, he never expected that both Lin Dong and him would suffer after an exchange. It seems like you are not as powerful as I thought you would be. The intense pain on Lin Dong's arm gradually went away as he stared at Hao Jiuyou and said, "Do you really think that you can defeat me with such techniques?" Hao Jiuyou chuckled. It was obvious that Lin Dong's temporary boost in strength would not last forever. Therefore, once this boost disappears, what can Lin Dong possibly use to defeat him? I am not interested in defeating you. All I need to do is to tie you down and wait for little Martin's group to break the formation. After which, you will die for sure. Lin Dong teased him sadistically. You? Hao Jiuyou's pupils shrunk as he hurriedly turned his head. Only then, did he realize that the experts from the celestial demon Martin tribe have already approached the 69 mountaintops. After which, once the eternal illusion demon flowers were removed and the formation was broken, the powerful individuals from the celestial demon Martin tribe would no longer be tied down. At that time, his fate would likely be quite a miserable one. Moreover, the Heaven Illusion King duo would not let him off easy if the plan fails. You hindrance. With this thought in mind, Hao Jiuyo's eyes became completely gloomy. That was because he knew that he had allowed himself to be tied down by Lin Dong for far too long. Hence, if this continues on, their plan today would definitely fail. I cannot allow this to drag on any further. A ruthless expression flashed across Hao Jiuyo's eyes. Promptly, he clenched his teeth viciously. Both his hands formed a seal before his body began to swell in a strange fashion. Finally, his body exploded in front of Lin Dong's stunned eyes. Lin Dong was startled when he saw this sight. This fellow actually self-destructed? Something's not right. Lin Dong focused his attention. That was because he saw that the hallucination fragrance permeating the air were beginning to gather towards a spot in his vicinity from all directions. Brat, you forced my hand. However, it is an honor for you to be killed by this skill. Hao Jiuyo's sinister voice resounded across the sky as those hallucination fragrance gathered together. Lin Dong's expression turned grave when he saw this strange scene. He clenched his fist tightly before another 800 purple gold dragon light tattoos surged around his body. Eternal Illusion Flower Demon Body. Hao Jiuyo's incomparably sinister cry once again resounded in the sky as Lin Dong readied himself. After crying out loud, the originally scattered blood fog began to gather towards a certain spot. After which, those black hallucination fragrance actually merged with that blood fog. An increasing amount of hallucination fragrance spread. After which, the members of the celestial demon Martin tribe were stunned when they saw a 10,000 feet large black flower which had traces of scarlet appearing vividly in the sky above them. That enormous black flower gently extended its leaves. Currently, Hao Jiuyo's body had transformed into a huge eternal illusion demon flower. Countless scarlet vines were dancing around just like poison dragons, while the black hallucination fragrance had transformed into a fog that encircled him. It was an exceptionally strange sight. Ha ha, how about this? How are you going to fight me now? The black flower swayed before Hao Jiuyo's sharp laughter reverberated. Swinging one of his vines violently, he directly left a huge crack on the ground. His frightening strength caused one's heart to shudder. Lin Dong wore a grave expression as he stared at Hao Jiuyo, who had transformed and taken on a strange form. Following which, he frowned. That was because he realized that the latter's strength seemed to have surged significantly. Furthermore, the most crucial fact was that this fellow's actual body was actually hidden within that flower body and it was impossible to locate his actual body. Therefore, attacking randomly would be completely useless and it will merely exhaust one's strength. Ha ha. At this moment, Hao Jiuyo also saw Lin Dong's hesitation. Immediately, he laughed out loud. Subsequently, his black vines shot out in all directions. However, they were not targeting Lin Dong. Instead, they had gone after those small groups which were attempting to remove the eternal illusion demon flowers. This sudden attack caught these small groups by surprise. Fortunately, they were all elites of the celestial demon Martin tribe and they did not suffer any injuries. Nevertheless, their speed was reduced. When Lin Dong saw this scene, his eyes darkened. Then, he stomped heavily against the empty air before his body became translucent jade in color. In fact, it was possible to see the ancient jade bones in his body. Following which, his bones squirmed and appeared just like meandering ancient dragons. Roar? A low and deep ancient dragon roar reverberated continuously within Lin Dong's body. Clenching both his hands tightly, the strength within his body was unleashed to its limits. A total of 800 purple gold dragon light tattoos were formed at this moment. 1,000. Some blood appeared on Lin Dong's skin when the 1,000th purple gold dragon light tattoo was formed. This was clearly the maximum amount that he could form with his current body. Charge! A low and deep voice that resembled a dragon roar sounded from Lin Dong's mouth. His eyes were searing hot as he stared at that distant huge black flower. Following which, his body flew forward in the next instant. 1,000 purple gold dragon light tattoos surged forward. The sound of 1,000 roaring dragons caused the entire world to tremble. Little Martin clenched his hand before a purple-black light flashed past in an arc. After which, the black vines, which were attacking him, fell onto the ground after they were sliced apart. He actually pushed him to such an extent. Standing beside him, an expert from the celestial demon Martin tribe was staring at the earth-shaking fight that was happening in the sky. His voice contained a tinge of amazement and worry that could not be concealed. All of them were extremely surprised by the fact that Lindong was able to tie down Hao Jiryo for such a long period of time. After all, Hao Jiryo's current attacks were all extremely formidable. In fact, the fluctuations emitted from that huge black flower as it swayed caused their scalp to turn a little numb. "Let's make haste." Little Martin spoke in a faint voice. Promptly, a white glow flashed in his hand before it scattered the black hallucination fragrance spreading in front of him. Soon after, an eternal illusion demon flower appeared in a flash on a nearby mountaintop. "Found it. Prepare the signal. After everyone has reached their respective target, we will act in unison and remove the eternal illusion demon flowers." Little Martin looked at the eternal illusion demon flower before he heaved a sigh of relief. "Understood." The other two men hurriedly replied upon hearing this. After which, they clenched their hands before a glowing talisman appeared. "Now, we can only hope that Brother Lindong can hang on for a little longer." A man sighed softly. Currently, they were at the most critical juncture. Given a little more time, it would be possible for them to remove the eternal illusion demon flowers and break the formation. However, the precondition was that they must not be disturbed by Hao Jiryo. Otherwise, if they were unable to remove all the eternal illusion demon flowers at the same time, the formation might erupt in chaos instead. At that time, even though the formation would still be broken, the resulting hallucination fragrance would still bring them a great deal of problems. Moreover, they could not afford to wait any longer. As the formation released an increasing amount of hallucination fragrance, Hao Jiryo was also becoming stronger. Therefore, they had to break this formation as soon as possible in order to aid Lindong. Little Martin tilted his head and looked at the sky. When he saw that figure, who was accompanied by 1,000 galloping dragons as he charged fearlessly towards that huge black flower, he involuntarily clenched his fists. "Get ready to act," Little Martin said in a deep voice. Meanwhile, the Demon Destroyer talisman in his hand began to emit a warm white light. There was no point in worrying for now. Unless they broke that formation, all of Lindong's previous efforts in delaying Hao Jiryo would have been in vain. "Ha, quite a powerful aura. However, you are like a mantis trying to stop a cart." Hao Jiryo's sharp laughter was emitted from within the huge black flower in the sky. Soon after, countless black vines whistled forward. They looked just like tens of thousands of poison dragons as they rushed forward, blotting out the sun as they streaked across the sky. Finally, they slammed against Lindong, who was charging over with 1,000 purple gold dragon light tattoos. Boom! The collision between them was akin to that of two colliding meteors. Instantly, both of them unleashed their most terrifying force. The land beneath cracked completely due to the assault wave from that clash. The many experts from the celestial demon Martin tribe also hurriedly scattered as they were afraid of being drawn into that fight. The purple gold dragon light tattoos collapsed completely under that ferocious clash. Meanwhile, those black vines also erupted into black liquid before sharp screeches echoed across the sky. Bang bang bang. The sound of explosions continuously reverberated across the sky as those two forces were being rapidly exhausted. Ha, so what if your strength can soar temporarily? How many times can you use that move? However, it was obvious that Lindong was at a disadvantage in a battle of endurance. This was because creating purple gold dragon light tattoos was no easy task. Moreover, Hao Jiryo was at the samsara stage. Together with help from that formation, should this stalemate continue on, it was naturally difficult for Lindong to come out on top. The purple gold dragon light tattoos erupted forth. Lindong had an indifferent expression as he summoned all the strength within his body. The energy garnered from the great desolation scripture was gradually being consumed in this clash. At this rate, you will not be able to hold on for long. Yang's voice also sounded at this moment. I have no other choice. Little Martin's group needs more time. Lin Dong's voice clearly had an additional trace of anxiety. How Jiryo is able to borrow the strength of the formation. However, even though his eternal illusion flower demon body is powerful, it has a weakness too. That is, it causes his actual body to become extremely weak. Hence, as long as you are able to find his actual body, you will be able to seriously injure him. Yang said in a deep voice. Find his actual body? Lin Dong narrowed his eyes before his gaze swiftly swept across the huge black flower. Then, he laughed bitterly in his heart. He had tried to probe previously, but he failed to locate Hao Jiryo's actual body. Clearly, the latter was also well aware of his own weakness. Therefore, the latter hid his actual body extremely well. Your mental energy has yet to advance to the symbol Grandmaster level. Hence, you are naturally unable to probe too deeply. Nevertheless, you possess ancestral symbols and those divine objects are extremely sensitive to the strength of the Yimo. You can try using them. Yang reminded him. Ancestral symbols, huh? A thought passed through Lin Dong's mind after he heard this. After which, black lighting glow suddenly surged from deep within his eyes. Faintly, they seemed to resemble two ancient symbols. The world in front of Lin Dong seemingly changed the instant he activated his two ancestral symbols. The huge black flower gradually turned into a sea of demonic aura, while there was a figure that was vaguely visible at the spot where the demonic aura was the densest. That spot is... Lin Dong's pupils shrunk as he stared right at the core of the black flower. Is he hiding over here? Lin Dong frowned. That spot was clearly the spot with the tightest security. Countless black vines that resembled poison dragons were entwined around it. Hence, it was not going to be an easy task to break through the defenses and hurt Hao Jiryo, who was hidden within. However, if he did not risk it all now, it was likely that he could only wait for the other party to slowly deplete his strength. Raw? Lin Dong's eyes were glimmering. In the next moment, without any hesitation, he placed both of his hands together, before the primal dragon bone in his body unleashed a frightening dragon roar. Following which, a jade light swept forward, before it transformed into a tens of thousands feet large jade color light dragon, outside of his body. Bang! The light dragon dashed forward the instant it was formed before it directly charged towards the black flower. Useless. You are merely courting death. When Hao Jiryo saw that Lin Dong still dared to attack him, his sinister cold laughter sounded from within the black flower. After which, tens of thousands of black vines came whistling forward. Those vines were filled with sharp blade-like black thorns and their sharp auras left countless scars in the sky. Bang bang bang. Countless black vines swung viciously against that jade dragon which was charging towards them. The resulting low and deep noises caused everyone's eyelids to twitch. Due to that fearsome lashing, everyone could see that the massive jade dragon was shrinking and turning dim at a speed that was visible to one's naked eye. Hao Jiryo's sharp laughter echoed across the sky before his vines became even more brutal. After over a dozen breaths' time, the jade dragon collapsed completely after 1,000 vines came lashing down simultaneously. However, a glowing figure suddenly escaped the moment the jade dragon collapsed. Then, it flew straight towards the black flower's core at a frightening speed. Just as Lin Dong was about to reach the flower's core, a black vine, which resembled a poison dragon, shot forward in a tricky angle and attempted to pierce his heart. From the looks of it, Lin Dong would definitely be severely wounded if he did not change his course. However, Lin Dong knew that he had finally managed to approach the middle of the flower after much effort. Therefore, if he was to pull back now, it was likely that Hao Jiryo would not give him an opportunity like this in the future. Hence, a ruthless glint flashed across Lin Dong's eyes. His body jerked as he allowed that vine, which was covered with sharp black thorns, to pierce his body. Immediately, fresh blood spurted from his mouth. Lin Dong's eyes were scarlet. He had merely changed his posture when the vine was about to strike him. Hence, the vine had pierced his shoulder instead. Nevertheless, the intense pain still caused his body to tremble. Lin Dong did not care about that vine, which had penetrated his shoulder. Extending his hand, he forcefully crushed it. As of now, he had finally arrived in front of the flower's core. You? When Lin Dong arrived at this place, there was finally a tinge of panic in Hao Jiuyo's voice. After all, he did not expect that the latter was actually able to accurately pinpoint the location of his actual body. So what if you have found it? Can you break my defenses? However, soon after, Hao Jiuyo let out a cold snort. Currently, Lin Dong was severely wounded and he had exhausted the yuan power in his body. Therefore, what could he possibly do to him with his tattered body? 8 huge black flower petals shook at this moment before monstrous demonic aura were released. Layers after layers were directly stacked in front of the flower's core, forming an extremely sturdy defense. At this moment, many members of the celestial demon Martin tribe below were anxious as they stared at this scene. They clearly knew that if Lin Dong's next attack failed, the latter would lose all fighting strength. At that time, once Hao Jiuyo was freed, he would be able to focus his attention on disrupting the small groups who were attempting to break the formation. Victory or defeat shall be determined by a single move. However, their hearts involuntarily sunk when they saw the frightening defense that was being set up in front of the flower's core. That was because that defense could not be broken even by an all-out attack from a Samsara stage expert. Hence, how could Lin Dong possibly deal with it in his current condition? How is he going to deal with it? Lin Dong looked at the monstrous demonic aura in front of him, before he involuntarily licked his lips. There was a sharp and formidable glint flowing deep within his eyes. After which, resplendent black lightning glow suddenly surged onto one of his arms, before 2 ancient symbols seemingly crisscrossed. Lin Dong's palm suddenly began to turn into a black lightning color. Soon after, it turned into liquid, before droplets of black lightning liquid dripped down and vanished. Suddenly, Lin Dong clenched his liquidized hand. Meanwhile, a deep voice sounded in his heart. In the next instant, he suddenly took a step forward. Waving his right arm, he looked just like a fly trying to shake a large tree, as his liquidized fist solemnly slammed against that monstrous demonic aura defense in an extremely fearsome fashion. Hand of the ancestral symbol. This video will end here.